and welcome to the Athletic Brewing post-race report for the Cairns Airport IRONMAN Cairns, the 10th stop in our 2025 Ironman Pro Series in Queensland, Australia. And this year, as part of the Pro Series, we saw an international field head down to challenge the Aussies and the Kiwis. I'm Laura Seardle, and let's see how the racing went down. Called the Race in Paradise, our professional men lined up on the beach start at the stunning Palm Cove in tropical far north Queensland and ran in for the 2-lap Roka swim in the Pacific Ocean. The wind today providing some chop and ocean swell as the athletes navigated the waves to get out to the first buoy before they could make that right-hand turn and swim parallel to the beach. It didn't take long before South African Jamie Riddle broke off the front, leaving the rest of the field behind to battle it out in the water. Riddle represented South Africa at the Paris Olympics before really making a move to the middle and full distance racing this year. He's an exciting racer, an exceptional swimmer, and he can control the pace, almost playing with the rest of the field as they suffer trying to stay in touch. Behind Riddle, it was the pair of Australian Josh Amberger and American Matthew Marquardt, who had also broken away from the field and were navigating through the age group athletes and the swell as they completed the second lap. Riddle took the shortest line to the beach to get to land as soon as possible, quicker to run the final few meters on dry land and on the sand than to battle against the tides and the currents. And he would enter onto the beach and then into T2 with about a 10-second gap back to Amberger and Marquardt. But the cramps that had haunted Marquardt all season hit again before he'd even made it to his bike. It looked like for Marquardt his day was over. Riddle came out here to win, 5th at Ironman South Africa on debut. He had high goals for this race and set about attacking the bike, capitalising on his lead. Ex-professional cyclist Australian Ben Hill was also attacking and trying to move through the field to close the gap on the leaders, having exited the water almost 3 minutes down. With Riddle up the road, there was a solid chase pack forming. Hill, Nick Thompson, Henrik Gauche, Mike Phillips and Josh Amberger. By halfway on the bike, the Australian fan favourite Nick Thompson had bridged up to Riddle. And then by 150 kilometres to go, just 30 kilometres left, Riddle really started to struggle. Hill would also catch and make the pass, and Riddle would go to lose 8 minutes in the last 30 kilometres to these leaders. And in his head, he was really ready to call it a day. Nick Thompson would be first back into T2, much to the delight of the Aussie crowd, as he would head out on to the Roka run course, joining the age group 70.3 athletes for company. And in an incredible turn of events, Marquardt managed to put behind him the cramps in T1 and bike his legs good again, putting himself back in contention on the second half of the bike and coming into T2 just 3.5 minutes down. Marquardt, a full-time medical student and researcher, was now on the verge of his first Ironman win as he moved into the lead with 10 kilometres to go. Not only Marquardt's first Ironman win, the first American to win and the first athlete not from Australia and New Zealand to take the win in this race's history. Nick Thompson would have his best result of his career to date, coming in second. And Finland's Henrik Gauche in third. Our top 10 results, well, Matthew Marquardt finally getting his first Ironman win, 7 hours, 50 and 41 seconds, 5,000 points. Thompson in second, Gauche in third. Riddle finding the fight on the run, not throwing the towel, finished a respectable fourth. And Matt Hansen would run a 2 hours, 30 minutes and 21 seconds to move himself into fifth on the day. And it's all change in the overall series points and rankings. Ben Hamilton, 10th in Cairns, now takes the top spot with 4 races counting. Matt Hansen would move up 18 spots to 2nd with his 5th in Cairns, and Marquardt leaps 25 places to 3rd. Nick Thompson and Jared Osborne enter the top 10 in 7th and 8th, respectively. The professional women followed the men into the Pacific Ocean as the sun rose on a spectacular day. Also having to manage the swell and the waves as they headed in off the beach over this 2-lap roca swim course down at Palm Cove. And it would be New Zealand's Rebecca Clark who would break away solo, leaving the rest behind. And perhaps a surprise that the Netherlands' Lotte Wilms, also a great swimmer, wasn't with Clark. But it would be Clark who would be first to hit the beach and head into T1. Wilms would come in second, but she was 80 seconds behind as she headed out to start the Zoot bike course. Clark was out in front, but Wilms would work hard to bridge up to Clark, doing so by around the 30-kilometre mark. And Clark was then able to hang with Wilms for another 30 kilometres until dropping back and being picked up by the chasers, New Zealand's Hannah Berry, American Jackie Herring and Australian Reagan Hollyoak. A little further back was Australian Penny Slater. Slater was second at Ironman Texas last year and then 7th at the Ironman World Championships in Nice, and has suffered a couple of stress reactions in her femurs over the past few months. But now being coached by Australian legend Liz Blatchford, she was looking strong on the bike as the athletes headed along the coast. Wilms still managing to stay away out front and in solo. Jackie Herring, after a DNF in Hamburg through an unrepairable flat tyre, had made the trip to Cairns hoping to bank on her fitness and training, and was looking good on the bike, almost riding the course blind, having not ridden the course before race day, and just having fun out there with Hannah Berry and Reagan Hollyoak. Wilms was still out in front and solo and would put time into the chasers in the latter stages of the bike. She would come into T2 2.5 minutes ahead of Berry, who had broken away from Herring, but that lead all but disappear as Wilms spent 4 minutes in transition. She ran out but then stalled and realised she'd left her watch, and valuable seconds would tick away in transition before she was eventually able to find it and start the Hoka run. But now just with a 30-second lead over Berry. By 6 kilometres, the gap was almost gone, and Herring too was just a few seconds further back and closing fast. Berry would draw up alongside Wilms, but Herring had them both in her sights. Herring would soon close that gap and join them at the front of the race. But not for long, as she would soon leave them behind, entering on to the red carpet to take the win, the first American woman to win this race. Berry, the 2024 champion, would finish in second. And Lotte Wilms in third, just 1 minute back, and perhaps wondering what may have been if she'd left her watch in transition. So Jackie Herring, a win, 5,000 points and her Kona slot, all ticked for a successful trip to Australia. Hannah Berry and Lotte Wilms rounding out the podium, and Penny Slater, a solid performance back for her in fourth, Reagan Hollyoak in fifth, Kylie Simpson in sixth, and Rebecca Clark in seventh. And so to our overall Pro Series ranking and points. Well, no change at the top, and Reichman still sitting there with Kat Matthews in second, but the win for Herring moved her up 15 places into third. Hannah Berry jumps 30 spots now to sit in 5th, and Lotta Wilms 43 places up to enter the top 10 in 9th. This has been your Athletic Brewing post-race report for the Cairns Airport IRONMAN Cairns. Next up is the Men's European Championships at the Mainova Ironman Frankfurt.